I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and so most of my neighbors growing up and my dad worked in the auto industry. Michigan was hit by the crisis pretty hard, and so many of our neighbors lost their jobs. Those in our community that were lucky enough to still have a job still had this nagging sense of uncertainty that their job would still be there the next day.
So I grew up in a small suburb out of Philadelphia, about 6,500 people. At the time, my dad was working 2 jobs, and my mom had just started working after having raised 2 children. And then in December of 2008, my father was offered a buyout package as part of a series of layoffs at his job. That was probably the first time I realized how quickly my family's financial security could deteriorate for reasons that were mostly out of my control and even out of my understanding.
When the financial crisis hit, I was a graduate student at Howard University pursuing my studies in economics. I understood and sort of got to read the politics and policies behind the headlines. On the other hand, I was a first-time homebuyer, and so could feel the impact of the credit crunch, could feel the scrutiny as an average citizen that did not seem to play out with banks, Bank of America, Wachovia, and all the other allies.
I stepped off a plane at Dulles Airport, turned on my cell phone, and I had a call from Chairman Bernanke. I called him back and he told me that Lehman would fail the next day. Already the U.S. had entered a recession, and I knew that the toll from this could rival what we experienced during the Great Depression, and that urgent action would be needed.
There are many lessons we can take from the financial crisis, which are still very much valuable today. But in particular, as much as we knew about the global economy, about global financial markets, what the crisis revealed was that what we didn't know was much more important than we'd realized. And that was a humbling experience then, and I think it's a humbling experience now.
As we move away from the financial crisis 10 years later, I think it's important to remember that financial regulations are not the enemy. During my tenure at CFPB, I worked tirelessly in supervision and enforcement to enforce the laws, to right wrongs, and to protect consumers. And so there are huge benefits that I think far outweigh the costs of financial regulations. There is a big lesson to take away from the financial crisis. Average Americans hurt, and we don't recover as quickly as Bank of America, JP Morgan, Chase, and all the other banks do.
What has become clear is that we need to rethink the basic assumptions of our macroeconomic models, think about how to integrate financial markets and the interplay between macroeconomics and finance, and most importantly, think about the global dimensions of all issues in economics.
It's of overriding importance from a national economic perspective to ensure financial stability and put in place all the supervision and regulation that's necessary to avoid another crisis like this. There's a great deal of work to be done, some areas where I have concern and some ways in which the new administration's focus on deregulation has set the agenda backwards.
I think it's really important to remember that the consensus is sometimes wrong. And if you don't listen to the people who are out of the consensus, the ones who are warning that there's an iceberg approaching the Titanic, you may miss something really big. If 9 economists out of 10 say one thing and a 10th says something else, it's really important for us to listen a little harder to the 10th, because sometimes that person is right.
Markets do not get everything right. Markets are not the goal. People are the goal. Markets are there because they're the most efficient way to serve people.
I think that policymakers really need to remember that their decisions affect real people. So it's really important that they clearly communicate with the general public, not just to government officials and market participants. Understanding what's actually going on and what people are actually doing to fix these things would definitely help a family living all the way out in Detroit, Michigan feel a bit less vulnerable and perhaps give them hope that things will get better.